Hi everyone,
and welcome to another episode of ITT Podcast, which stands for In This Together Podcast. Our podcast is our honest take on relationships, love, and marriage, with the aim of sharing our views and experiences for you to take from it whatever you need.
So whether you're single, dating, in a relationship, or happily married, there is something in it for you.
Hi everyone, today's episode is called How We Deal with Conflict. We're going to be discussing the common sources of conflict, so what tends to lead to conflict in relationships, the strategies for resolving conflict, and how it should all work in practice. So we're going to use our examples and things we've experienced as well as what we've seen other people experience, kind of draw on, and to give you things that could actually work for you if you put it into practice in a relationship. And like we said before,
it's not going to be for everyone. Like, not everyone's going to agree.
Yeah, it might be a case of not everything we do you would necessarily
agree with.
Yeah, or works for your relationship, but there is tips. So we thought we'd talk about this today because conflict is one of the biggest issues in a relationship. Yeah. Conflict is probably the biggest issue. Everything that happens that leads to a couple breaking up or not making it is because of conflict in some way, shape or form. Something happened, something someone's done. So if you can figure out a way in your relationship to deal with conflict in a healthy way, to deal with conflict in a way that doesn't actually threaten your relationship and the future of your relationship, then you would have cracked the code of marriage. So we've got a few tips for you guys on what we do in our relationship and how we deal with it. So a lot of the times in relationships, people struggle because they don't know how to deal with conflict properly.
It's not something that you practice when you were younger.
Yeah.
Even just, in your everyday life, it's not something that we're used to dealing with.
Yeah.
So when you do get in a relationship, it's harder to know what to do.
Yeah, and especially because the kind of conflict that you face in a relationship is very different from any other kind of conflict.
It's true.
When you are in a romantic relationship with someone and you kind of butt heads because of how much you love them or how much how you feel about them, sometimes the things that they do hurt more than anybody else.
Yes, it does.
It kind of can be very amplified.
Yeah.
They always say there's a thin line between love and hate. And I think that's because if you love someone so much, out of all the people in the world, it's what they do that would hurt you the most.
Yeah.
You cannot really be hurt by people you don't really care about and don't really love. Most of the time, you get over that kind of stuff really quick.
I agree with that. So we're saying it's important because we all have to deal with it.
Yeah, and we're talking about how we deal with ours. So first of all, we're going to talk about the common sources of conflict. So we actually did a carousel for this on Instagram the other day, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Where we posted about common misunderstandings in relationships.
Yes.
So we're going to pull from that and some of the things that we've gone through in our relationships to talk about the common sources of conflict in a relationship. From there, we're going to move on to talk about strategies for resolving conflict and then tips and stuff for how it should actually work in practice. So if you were actually to action all of this out.
This one is a slightly different one because we're discussing it, but it's more of like points that has worked for us.
Yeah, this one is a different kind of podcast. It's almost like a more teaching one, isn't it?
Yeah, we're just listing what's
worked for us and what we think and stuff like that. Yeah. So first of all, Frank, let's just start off in a fun way, I would say. What do I do? What would you say are two things that I do that causes conflict in the relationship? Let's just start with ourselves.
Two things you do.
That you hate.
That I hate. There isn't a lot.
I love the disclaimer.
There isn't a lot. The two things, I can't.
And is it different from when we first met? Like, early relationship, you have to have stuff. Like, there was things that I used to do.
Probably your spending.
Oh God. It's always finances.
Well, yeah.
I don't spend that much. You literally make me sound like I've got.
No,
do I have a high-end expensive designer bag?
You don't spend.
Do I have
stuff, but
expensive designer shoes? No, I don't have.
You buy more things. Like, Amazon is there. Like, you buy more things than, the prices of the things. It's just the constant buying that. You're a tech head, so you purchase quite a lot of techie stuff, a lot of, yeah. So that is a bit annoying. That's why I say I wouldn't say I hate those things. I'm just like, if you're gonna ask me what do I don't like, that you do, I would say, the spending.
How does that differ from you then?
I'm not a spender. I'm a saver.
You're a saver.
I'm a saver. Yeah.
So when you do spend,
when I do spend,
my love, when you do spend,
when I do spend, then it's quality.
No, we're not talking about quality. We're talking about money.
The thing is, with you, it's quantity. You acquire a lot of things. You buy this, buy that. I'm just like, no. But when I buy, it's.
But doesn't it just average out then?
No, not really. It's not expensive. It's not that expensive.
At this point, it's like, okay, I might buy a few things from Amazon, a few things here and there, a few gadgets, and it comes up to like maybe £200, and then you buy a top and it's £350, but you haven't bought a top in a long time.
No, but
yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Not anymore. That was before now. That was before. We've matured now. We've matured, so I'm a bit more conservative with my spending. Your spending is not as crazy as it used to be when we first got together. Yeah,
when we were younger.
Yeah, when we were younger. Right after we got married, there was
teething problems, getting used to each other.
So finance is still, for me, number one.
Really?
Conflict. Because
that's
sometimes you buy stuff and I'm like, I want to say something like, but I'm just like, okay, you don't want to argue, so just leave it. Just let her have it, just leave it, yeah.
Okay.
So another thing you do is sometimes the way we deal with the kids. Yeah. I have a certain way of dealing with the kids, and you clearly have a certain way. I wouldn't say we clash all the time, but I would say there needs to be more consistency across the board.
Yeah. And that is one of the things on our list of things. I mean, we're going to go through the list of things that we think, the common misunderstandings in relationships that tend to lead to conflict. But the way we deal with kids, because we have such a different upbringing, we have a different way of dealing with kids. But say it, go ahead. How do I deal with the kids versus how you deal with the kids that you think causes conflict?
I mean, the way I deal with the kids is a bit more, you can say I'm a bit more strict with the kids. But so are you sometimes. I just think
we're strict on different things.
I think for me, when I think we should be strict on them, you're very chilled. Like, come on, what are you stressed about? And the things I think you should be chilled about, you're like, we need to be firm with them. I'm like, okay, just easy, take it easy, take it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it stops us in terms of how we deal with them, how we've managed them. So is it
being kind of united in how we deal with them?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we actually have an episode this season specifically about kids.
Yes.
And how they impact the relationship.
Yeah.
We don't really have one on how we deal with kids per se, but maybe we can touch on that one.
Yeah.
But kids is definitely one of them. So
So those are the two for me. What about you? What do I do that pisses you off? That gets you angry, that makes you feel like you want to strangle me? Tell me. I'm sure there's a few. I'm sure there's more than two. Where do you start?
No, it's not where do I start. I'm even trying to replay what gets me to the point of anger. I think that like really annoys me, causes conflict. I don't like being ignored.
Okay.
Yeah, you know that. So you know where this is going. I don't like being ignored.
Yes.
And you don't like a lot of noise. Sometimes you don't like. Sometimes you're just. Chatting. Yeah, like Frank is the kind of person that if something's getting on his nerves, he's just going to shut down from it. He's a shut down kind of person sometimes. And I'm not going to talk about like the things we dealt with in the past, because we've spoken about in other episodes, like you stonewalling me or ignoring me in that way in the midst of an argument. Not so much. It's what happens that leads to the conflict. So like sometimes I'm feeling a certain way and maybe I express it, and then I feel like you just kind of didn't really pick up on my vibes. Like you just kind of, because you're not in that headspace, you just don't pick up on it, and then I feel like I'm being ignored.
Yeah.
Do you know, a lot of the times I'm like, you haven't even been like affectionate, like you haven't. And to you, you're just kind of going about day-to-day life. You're doing things, you're doing that, you're doing this, and sometimes if I'm really in need of like attention, affection, I can feel like that's like deliberately ignoring me, even though I know you're not. So that sometimes causes conflict, because then I get my back up, and I think sometimes I become a bit standoffish because of it, and we're still working. And see, this is what we're talking about. We're still working on things in our relationship. So, you know, trying to not take personal when you're in like a zoned out mood. Because, you know, sometimes when you're doing stuff, you're like, I just like to do stuff in peace. I'm doing this, I just want to do it in peace. And sometimes I feel like, right, okay, that's hurtful. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, ignoring me, or just like feeling like I'm not the attention, you're not paying attention to me.
Fair enough.
Sounds a bit bratty, but
it sounds cool.
That's one. The other thing I would say you do that really annoys me. It's hard because we've worked through so much that there's very little now.
I agree.
There's very little now.
I agree.
When you get defensive, actually.
The whatever.
Yeah, you always get defensive. And the thing is...
Making it sound like
sorry, not always. Don't say always.
Okay.
You don't always get defensive. But if I say something that I didn't like, or something that, you know, a negative thing, or something that's critiquing, you do take it to heart. You know, you can get quite defensive, as opposed to just kind of take on board what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're more likely.
So I need to work on the feedback. I need to work on it. Dealing with feedback.
Yeah, and I've said that to you before. It's like,
I'm still working on that.
Take criticism very well.
Yeah,
like constructive criticism.
I'm still working. Well, if they're constructive, that's a different topic. But no, criticism, I need to work on. Even if they're not constructive, it's how I deal with them.
How you receive it.
Is, you know, is the most important thing. So I definitely need to work on that. Yeah.
So, because sometimes you really get your back up, and you're very like aggressive about it.
Yeah.
Not aggressive in violence, but aggressive in terms of.
Right. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Are you trying to? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? Like, what are you trying to say, bro? Like,
But not like that. You're not that aggressive at all. But you're like, it's like you're instantly like, huh? And it's like, oh, calm down.
Don't talk to me like that. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm a chief. No, I get it. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So that's us. I mean, how would we say we've changed in terms of conflict? What is like one of the biggest changes for us in terms of conflict, from how we used to deal with things to how we deal with things now? And just for people, because we've got a lot of new listeners as well, we've been together, this is our 20th year, which I'm still so like surprised about. Like, I feel like it's flown by. 20 years is mad to me, like mad.
I know.
But we got married, this is 11 years married, so we were together for about eight years when we got engaged, and then, you know, 9 years by the time we got married. So we've been together 20 years. So we've had a lot of different stages in our relationship.
Yeah, we have.
But what would you say is like the biggest difference from how we used to deal with conflict in the past to now, like the biggest changes?
The biggest change is that we are both willing to make things work.
Huh? Well, we're not willing to make things work.
We were, but it's different. When we first got together, even before we got married, we were still learning about ourselves.
Yeah.
Not just learning about ourselves, but also learning about being together. So I think, like you said, we've been through different stages. So at that stage, it was a case of, you could say it was about winning
an argument.
It's like, okay, well, you know, you're saying this, well, I'm saying this, well, you know, I think I'm right, you know. There wasn't a lot of like listening, you know. It was, I saw it as when looking back at it now, I saw it as like a early phase of learning how to communicate with your spouse. But I think when we got married, I really think that things got much better.
I think they got worse before they got better.
Well, when we got married, things did get better until we started having kids. And then we had to learn different level. It was almost like you had to take that communication and, dealing
turn
with
it up a notch.
Yeah, turn it up a notch, because now you have kids, you have something else that you can fall out about. Something that's going to bring a strain into the relationship, into the marriage. So
even just like dealing with the kids.
Like looking back now, I think we managed really well, because for me, like as a man, I understood the strain. Going through the process of you giving birth. So for me, I was ready to take on that burden of being the person that deals with the kids, deal with the baby at a early hours in the morning or whatever. So I think that kind of eliminated quite a lot of argument.
It did, and I never really give you enough credit for that. Like when I had our son, our first child, you took so much off my shoulders in terms of like being a new mum, because there was so much that I was already dealing with emotionally. I was depressed. I was dealing with postpartum depression, and I know that sounds crazy. And some people who haven't dealt with this would just be like, "Oh, okay, postpartum depression." But no, seriously, it's a real thing. Some women really do go through it. I felt like a zombie. I felt like I'd literally gone through this traumatic ordeal. I was traumatized, and at the same time, I had this beautiful son, and I had to be this like happy mum.
Yes.
But I felt like I wasn't happy because I was like in shock, and there was so much going on, and you were so like instrumental in helping me kind of go from the trauma or the stress or the shock of the birth to a mum that's just enjoying her new baby, like to see the beauty of it. And that was because I just did not have to deal with a lot of the morning stuff or the nighttime crying. You would feed the baby, you just did so much, like, because it's like you could see how much I was struggling. So I feel like I just wanted to take the opportunity to say I really appreciate you for that.
That's nice. I appreciate that. When you talk about the question in terms of where do I see us now, right?
Compared to
how we're, I think now we're at the level where conflict does not have an impact on us, because it's us against the conflict rather than the conflict being, between me and you. So if there's an issue, I don't see it as, I know I said earlier on about the things, that you do that's a bit like, but that's why
it was hard to
I had to find something that's like, I would say it annoys me sometimes, but I want to see it as a conflict, something that's like a big deal for me. So I think now we see things, any issues, any conflict that comes our way as a us versus that particular conflict, rather than what are we going to do? How are we going to address it? And I think that's made a huge difference to how we deal with things, and things are resolved, much easier, much quicker.
For sure.
So that's my view on that.
Well, let's go into talking about the common misunderstandings and how we've experienced this in our relationship, if we have. We'll use some of the points in our carousel, which is on our Instagram. And it was called Common Misunderstandings in Relationships and How to Resolve Them. When we do our carousels, this is literally Frank and I's opinions on the carousels. Every slide is what we think, and that's why our slides can be a bit more detailed, because we always want to kind of not just put misunderstanding of expectations and move on. We kind of want to explain what we think and give a solution
Things you can implement.
I would say the first thing that causes conflict in a relationship is misunderstanding of expectations. And because the first thing you do when you go into a relationship is have expectations of what you want from it, what you expect them to be like. It's like you've built a picture of what that relationship should be.
So would you say that it becomes an issue when that expectation isn't met?
Yeah. Because it's almost like you came into the relationship thinking it's going to be a certain way, and then it's not that way, and you don't think that you're the problem. You think it's the person.
You never think that.
You never think you're the problem. So you think it's that person. And in a way, I think people get upset because they feel like they were kind of missold. And I think this is one of the issues, because it's like, this is why we talk so much about standards, expectations, boundaries, and communicating those, because you date someone, you're getting to know them, you then paint a picture in your head of who they are and how they're going to be. And in that relationship, when they do certain things, you're like offended, you're shocked, because you just think, this is not who you sold me you were, you know what I mean? So a lot of the times it's because of that expectation and not that openness to learn and understand that person. You kind of just want them to be who you thought they were.
But that's why it's important to bring your true self to the relationship from the get-go.
Yeah.
There's no point trying to be someone else, trying to paint that perfect person. And then when the relationship kicks off, you finally let go of everything, you relax, and then they turn around and look at you like,
you're not who
you said you were. So I think you're right. It's one of the biggest issues. Yeah.
And the way to really resolve that is through communication from the beginning. And we speak a lot about this in early episodes.
This is big in our podcast. Constant communication, open communication,
especially from the beginning. Like, ask each other questions that actually will help the future of your relationship. So it's all good to know what their favorite color is and what their favorite food they like to eat, or what place they like to holiday. But when you getting into date 2, date 3, start to talk about what do you want from a relationship? Are you interested in marriage? Do you want to have kids? How do you think your partner should treat you in public? Things like that. Things that are just so
basic.
Yeah, because at that point, you're not as invested. So you're really just trying to find out about that person. And these are really interesting topics to discuss.
Yes, I agree.
And that's one thing I think we did really well in our relationship. In the beginning, I was really clear about what I wanted. I mean, you were really clear about what you wanted.
We were in a relationship for a long time. So we had time. We were, every year went by, even as we got older, being together, things changed.
Yeah.
We discussed the changes. We discussed the impact on our future when we finally did get married.
Yeah.
So we were always communicating. I think being together for such a long time before getting married did help us to develop that communication.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's develop, like you said, be open and ask questions and just find out people's views.
What about when people don't have that time? What would you say? When they don't have that time?
It's not about time. We were fortunate enough to get old together. We met quite young, and then
we're not that old. I'm in my 30s. We're not that old.
You know what I mean? We started off in our teens and stuff, and just kind of worked our way up, kind of thing. Because I'm not a fan of getting together and getting married straight away. I don't. I feel like you don't know that person, so even a year, there's a lot you can do.
Yeah, if you're active, if you're proactive.
Don't waste the time in delaying. Don't play games. Don't play hard to get. Find out what that person is about. And this goes for both, men and women. Find out what that person is really about. If it's someone you can marry, because it can actually help eliminate wasting months and months and months out of life. If he's someone that doesn't want to get married, doesn't want to have kids, and you want to get married, you want to have kids, then that's a no-go.
It's a no-go. Just move on, because it's no point trying to convince them or trying to expect that one day maybe they will change.
Yeah.
It might just be a wrap.
And from my point of view, it's good to establish those things before you start falling deep in love, with them.
But sometimes what people do is they give you this one day. Do you know what I mean? I want to get married one day.
Yeah.
But they're not really...
I don't like that one day business.
Yeah.
You know what? It depends on the age.
Yeah.
If you're both 18, 19, 20, it's fine to be okay, one day. But if you're a 25-year-old, 26-year-old, come on. Which one day are you talking about?
Which day?
Which day?
When?
Oh boy, tell me, do you want to get married or not? It's a yes or no.
Yeah, by that time, you should know.
You should know.
You're in your
marriage 30s. Is not for me. Fine.
Yeah. Okay. So like we said, when it comes to expectations, listen to our episode in season 1 on standards, expectations and boundaries. Yeah. I think that was season 1, episode 7. So have a listen to that, because that goes into a lot more detail about how to kind of set standards, how to communicate expectations, etc., etc. So that's a good one for that.
Definitely.
The other thing we had on our carousel that we felt was a common misunderstanding that leads to conflict in relationship is misinterpreting each other's words.
Oh, God.
Taking your words out of context or reading too much into words. because we all use different words and we have a different way of speaking, we have a different way of communicating. Often you can find that you misinterpret the other person's words, or you take what they said to mean something else.
Yeah.
And then you paint a whole narrative in your brain of what they're saying, or why would you say that to me?
So,
okay,
but you're saying that, can we give an example of how that's happened in our relationship?
I think one time, one time, I was going through it. We had kids, and you said that our room looks like a pig sty, and it didn't. I'll have you guys know, because I am a clean freak.
It was just messy.
It was just messy, right? There was a lot going on.
Yeah, I just come back from work.
He came back from work, and my man was like, oh, the place looks like a pigsty. I was livid, because I am, if you know me, all my friends would laugh at this, because I am such a meticulous person when it comes to cleaning and things having a place, and I love decor and I love neatness. So to say our room looked like a pigsty literally hurt me.
Is pigsty live in a word?
Pigsty. I think it's like where pigs live. Right?
Is it?
I was livid, and the thing is, for you, that was such a big misunderstanding of relation, because for you were trying to say the place is messy.
The place is messy.
We need to tidy it up, right?
The funny thing is, I ended up tidying up.
Yeah, I say that.
It was more or less, I was saying it out loud. Oh, this place is like, I should have just kept him in my head.
Wait, how messy was it?
How was it that messy? There was a few things, but obviously, I like my areas to be clean. I like places to be clean.
And so do I.
Yeah, so I just come back from work. Obviously, my desk at work was clean. So I was like, okay.
I had a baby. All day I was dealing with a baby.
What I am saying, I said it, which is understandable, but I said it out loud. In my head, it was, this place is really messy. First thing I'm going to do is tidy up, which I ended up tidying up because of what I said. Obviously, you were not happy, so you took it personally, which is understandable.
And I think this is one of those examples, because it's not that I misinterpreted the word, because pigsty is a pigsty, right? But I think what I misinterpreted was that you weren't directing it at me.
Yeah.
You were basically saying like, oh my gosh, this really is getting out of hand. Like, I know you've been dealing with the baby, because Guav was really young at the time, and I think Ellie was born as well. I can't remember, but you were basically saying, right, let's tidy up. Like, let's tidy up. Let's get it out of hand.
And that's what I should have said.
Yeah. Whereas for me, I felt like you were saying, Nuria, you are a pig. Okay. Yeah. You're a lazy pig who has not tidied up this house, and I'm living in a pigsty. And I grew up with parents who are really strict on like cleanliness and tidiness and da-da-da. So it literally felt like a personal attack, especially because it wasn't that messy.
Yeah. I mean, looking back at it now, I can see definitely, I mean, we've spoken about this before.
Yeah, numerous times.
Yeah, why, how we would, they take it wrong. Another thing as well, I would say, is communicating through messenger, social media. You can like WhatsApp. I mean, we've had some run-ins, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, what were you?
Communicating.
Things on WhatsApp may just seem wrong, like, especially if you typed in capital. It's kind of like, are you shouting at me? Yeah? Are you shouting at me?
But who types in capital?
I did at one time. I think one time I just had my capital thing on, so I was just typing like, where are you? Like, like if you type in capital, where are you? It sounds like that person's angry.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't sound friendly.
Yeah.
So, the means of communicating is really important. It's better to just pick up the phone and just say, look, so where are you now? Yeah.
And just like, because they can hear your tone and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that would also like help with this is listening to understand what that person is saying, as opposed to responding. Active listening is really important. You need to seek clarification. What is that person saying?
What are you trying to say? You can even ask. Like,
And I think on the carousel, we pointed out that sometimes you'll find that you have different understandings of a word, so you see that word differently, or you define it differently. And how many times in our relationship have we had to go to the dictionary?
I know,
like several times where I'll be like, no, the word means this, and you're like, no, but it doesn't. This is, and then we have to look it up.
And be like, all right, well, that's what the word says. Okay, well, I'm sorry then. I'm sorry. You don't know. That's not the word I meant. That's not what I meant.
Yeah, it's often you.
Yeah, it's always me.
You're always like, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. I'm like, no,
but you know, that's really important, because that in itself causes a lot of argument.
It's also the kind of person you're with. Because I'm not someone that kind of bottles things in. I definitely tell you straight away. Yeah. So we get to deal with it head on, and which is another, we're just giving tips as we go along, but we deal with the issue head on. But if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a wife or a husband that take things in a lot more, they don't like to cause conflict. Sometimes you'll end up in a situation where they've said something, and that person has taken it the way they've taken it and just held on to that. For them, that is the reality of what happened. But you didn't even mean that, because you have a totally different definition.
So speak up. Yeah. I guess people are different. So if you're that kind of person, then you may have to come out of your shell a bit, especially if you're not sure if that's what he or she is saying. You may have to speak up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another misunderstanding is about financial priorities. Like you said, that's something that we put down already as well, because the issue with finances is not usually one person's a spender, one person is a saver. It's more about priorities.
It's about priorities,
It's about aligning priorities.
Yeah, you have different views on money, how we see it, how we think it should be spent. But at the end of the day, we need to ensure that our priorities align.
Yeah. And that we're able to achieve the things we want to achieve. And I always say that to you. I'm like, tell me what you want to be done and I'll get it done. You know, what I like to do with money that we have left over.
Which is fine.
You know, we got our savings, we've got whatever we're planning towards, all of that's in the bag. But it's about, okay, afterwards, I like to kind of make sure I spend my money and I have fun. Whereas you like to be like, oh, there's extra money, let's save some more. And I'm like, no, let's not, because we've already done the saving that we need to do.
There's savings and there's rainy day savings.
And we have that. We have rainy day savings. What we need to work more on is...
There's tornado savings. There's, when... end of the world kind of savings. We did different tiers of savings.
But with finances, have the conversations, because that's a big misunderstanding in relationships and conflict. And it's things that people don't tend to discuss until they're married.
It's minor things though. You just sit down and have a conversation like what's important to you and what's important to me. But it goes back to having goals
together.
Because once you have goals that you set yourselves, most goals require finances, having that financial backing. So it will almost prompt you to have that financial discussion.
And it will also prompt you to kind of understand what role each person has to play in reaching that goal. Because, okay, maybe your role in reaching that goal might not actually be financial. It might be supporting in another way, you know. So it's about understanding what that person expects from you in terms of the things that you have planned and what you want to achieve. So, what else did we say was common misunderstanding?
Household responsibilities.
Gosh, this one, especially amongst Africans.
I think it cuts across a bit more than
maybe I know, because
but we
our experience.
Yes.
I think being African, we have a lot more traditional expectations, and a lot of the times that's not even ironed out before you get married. It's not. And I think a lot of the times, and we did an episode on this about why roles matter in relationships in season 1. We spoke about why it's important to define roles in relationships and define who does what and everything else. So I think that was season 1, episode 4. But that is part of kind of tackling this issue of responsibilities within the house, the day-to-day living, who takes the bin out, who cook, do you both cook, things like that. A lot of the times people just kind of go into a relationship thinking, well, of course, she's the woman, of course she cooks.
Without understanding if she wants to be the one that cooks. Especially if he can cook as well. So it's like,
And it's not a thing. Most of the time, a lot of women love cooking for their partner. I think it's more about assumptions that are not agreed. Assumptions that are not discussed. I think it's more about making sure that the person you're with feels that things are fair, and that fair doesn't mean 50-50. It doesn't mean he also cooks. It just means each person needs to feel like that's a fair trade. Because, like, for example, I hate ironing. For me, I can clean the house all day, just don't ask me to iron. So it's like a difference of opinion there, and it's like there's like a fair trade there. But if I had to iron, I'll iron before the uncles go. Before the uncles go off, like my dad is probably listening to this like, she doesn't iron.
No, she doesn't actually. I do all the ironing. Yeah.
No, you don't, fag.
I do all the ironing, babe.
Do you do all the ironing?
Yeah.
But what do you really iron?
Everything.
No,
the kids' school uniform.
Okay, yeah. You iron the kids' school uniform. Yeah, we do. But that's because I do all the cleaning.
Some of your crease clothes as well.
You never iron my clothes, right? Stop it.
If you need an iron, who does the ironing? Not you. But it's about what works for. I enjoy ironing. It gives me the time to think, to process things, and
alone time,
which is it's like gold dust in this house.
No, God, I can't.
Yeah. So I guess it's about understanding who does what, and that person be comfortable with what they need to do.
Yeah. Another misunderstanding is togetherness versus independence. So, like, a lot of the times there's someone who wants more time, and this is kind of linked to love languages as well. Like, if your partner's love language is quality time, that's going to mean a lot to them. And sometimes things are not aligned with how much time you should be spending together and what constitutes time. I mean, even if we think of this in our relationship, didn't we have like this thing where I placed more value on the time we spent outside of the house as spending time together, whereas you saw spending time together as times where it was just me and you. Whether we're in the house or outside, or you were like, we sat down yesterday and like watched a movie. Or we were talking all day, and I feel like but we weren't really together. Like we didn't spend time together.
I was in the house with you all day long. From 8 a.m. till 12 a.m. It was just not good enough.
No, it's not that nice. It's not that it's not good enough.
It's why you saw it. It's really,
I like activities, outings, dinners, games, things like that. So it was even just understanding that, like what I consider us doing things together and what's, the quality time that we spend together being important to me.
True.
So how do we deal with this kind of independence?
By doing both, really.
Yeah.
Things like date night allows us to, because when we have date nights, we go out. We obviously we do go out together. Date night is just like a special thing that we do, but we do have breakfast where we go out.
We go out all the time.
So those type of things for you, it's like spending time together. And when we're in the house, we're watching a movie or just chilling, and that's kind of like we're spending time together in my kind of
your way.
Yeah. So I think we do both. Yeah, well, I think we do both.
We do both. And I never used to understand like why you just like to like sit on the sofa with me and watch TV shows. I think there was like a period of time where I just used to be annoyed with you like wanting to watch TV shows, even though that was our thing.
Yeah, but most of the time you find that some of the TV shows are or the TV shows that you want to watch.
No,
I would just sit there with you and just like things like, what's it called again? Love is Blind and nonsense. I have no interest in that. Well, you've got the internet now, like.
And Traitors back on. God. Traitors is back on.
Okay.
So,
that's another 2 weeks of my life gone.
No, but then we watch TV shows that you like too, babe. We don't watch TV shows. The Lazarus Project was your idea, and we both loved.
We're watching too much TV. We are watching too much TV. We need to stop it. Yeah,
no, I don't think we watch TV that much. Gosh, it takes us too long to get through things.
Once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but still. Anyway, we digress. But there's different ways of spending time together, and you might find that your partner sees it differently.
Yeah, it's good to understand.
Good to have that.
Yeah, to understand what is spending time together as far as they're concerned. And if one of you is a, outside rat.
No, I'm joking. He's always calling me an outside rat.
If one of you prefers the outdoors before being outside, and then there's always a middle ground.
Yeah.
To find out what works for both of you.
And I think also one thing I always say, I always say it to women because obviously I'm a woman and all my friends tend to be female.
True.
But I always say, like, don't forget that you are an individual as well. You know, you have to maintain your hobbies, your interests, your friendships.
It's
important, especially with women as well, because we tend to be more expressive, more emotional. We're more connected to our friends like that. So it's like, tap into that support system and spend that time with your friends and spend that time doing things that you like.
Need to do more.
You guys need to do that too.
We need to be more expressive and be more connected, and lean on the fellow brother. Like and you can only lean on your fellow brother if you open up, if you speak, communicate. We don't do it. We don't do that enough.
No, you're right.
I can say that, and I don't do any of that.
You feel more comfortable expressing how you feel with female friends than male friends, I would say. In the years that we've been together, the friends that I think you've been more open.
That's because guys don't talk.
Yeah.
Guys don't talk. So I could have a bunch of friends, 4 or 5 friends, 2 females, 2 male. The conversation will be between me and the females, because the guys are like, they're all like, yeah. There's nothing to talk about. We all, we're all geezers, like, nothing to say. We know there's a lot to say, but they just wouldn't open up. You have to instigate. You have to open up sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
Whereas women kind of pull it out.
Just pull it out. Yeah. So
that's true. Another common misunderstanding is, like we said, parenting styles. So if you're married, we spoke about that. Yeah. It's going to be parenting styles, and you have to present a united front in front of the kids. But at the same time, you also have to talk about things when you're together about the approach that the other person's taking. I've had a lot of times where I've kind of spoken to you about how I think we should be doing things. And I think it's because I'm more expressive.
Yeah.
So I tend to come to you and be like, I really think we need to start doing this with Guav. We need to stop doing this with Ellie. So it's like,
yeah.
Do you think we've got that down pat now? What do you think?
I think we're still working on that. We're still working on that, because I think as the kids grow, the parenting style has to change. So it's like it has to evolve. So I think we're constantly discussing how best to manage them, to deal with them, because every day it's something new, something different. It's like
true.
So
and I guess if you don't have kids, but you're with someone who you see yourself having a future with, definitely try and have
the discussion. Find out what their views are on parenting, things like religion. You might both be Christians, and again, just assume that you're going to be going to church every Sunday, and then your partner is not that kind of person. So it's things like that. Just because you have the same religion doesn't mean that you're going to have the same approach to it. So it's talking about those kind of things. In terms of how you want to raise your kids. And we did a good job with that. I think we spoke a lot before we had kids about how we would deal with it and what we would do. And we kind of knew each other's parenting style and agreed on certain things. But the reality is always different. Yeah, I know. Once it's there, the kids are around, it's a case of like,
challenge.
You need to tolerate around the kid.
I think another misunderstanding is
underestimating the importance of apologies.
Yeah. I think that's one where it's like some people in disagreements or in conflict feel like, well, I have my stance, you have yours.
Yeah.
And I don't think people always recognize that it's more about kind of reflecting on how your actions impact your partner without internalizing that as being like something wrong with you as a person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like apologizing to your partner when you can see you've hurt them. It doesn't have to be something where you feel like, because I've apologized to this person, I'm now on the back foot. I'm completely wrong. You could even feel like you're still right, but you apologize because you can see that they took it differently. That was not what you meant.
And I think we men do that a lot.
Yeah.
I think I do that quite a lot, even when I know I'm right.
Oh no, babe, that's not true. That's making it sound like that. Sometimes I know I'm right and I still apologize. No, you don't.
No, I do. Even when I believe that I'm right. But the fact that I know that the current situation, the impact it's having on you, I would apologize. And the thing is, I never just leave it.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it another day, we'll discuss it, and then we'll try to understand each other's views and whatnot. But at that point in time, rather than drag on the conversation and make you feel like I see it's had an impact on you, or it's having an impact on you. So I would like, okay, I understand what you're saying. You know, sometimes you just got to do those things.
Yeah, and I do the same.
I'm sure you do. I actually mean it. I'm sure you do. Like, see, you misunderstood about where it felt. I actually meant that. Like, I'm sure you do, but you thought I was being cheeky.
Okay, so you're saying you're sure I apologize even when I think I'm right.
Yeah. I'm sure you do that. I'm sure you do that. You have to kind of do that, to sometimes just to get through.
Yeah.
Because not every time is going to be the right time to have that conversation or iron out those issues. Like, have clarity, like, we need to just clarify who is right. It doesn't.
No, yeah. So a lot of the time there is no right person or wrong person, and a lot of the times that's not the case. It's about a misunderstanding, like we're saying. It's like a different way of viewing things, or you're not going to get the kind of situation where you're like, oh, right, you were right all the time. And I think that's one of the things that we need to kind of be clear about when we're talking about conflict. A lot of the times there is no right answer. There's no right or wrong way of looking at something. It's about understanding your partner's way of looking at it, and then trying to find common ground.
I agree.
So I think, for sure. And apologies are a strong tool. It doesn't make you weak.
No,
if anything,
it doesn't.
It makes you stronger.
It does.
It shows that you can.
It does, especially as a man. I think it makes you more confident in yourself when you can put your pride aside and apologize, especially when you know you're right, and it's like, but the situation doesn't call for you to be right.
What does that mean?
No. The situation just calls for you to acknowledge that, okay, the fact that we're having this back and forth, like it must be having an impact on you. I'm sorry. I guess the apology is kind of like, sorry, we're having this conversation kind of thing. Or sorry, we're in this place. So, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. So even if you have to discuss it another day, I think sometimes you just gotta,
That's true. I think it's also important to people in talking about conflict and stuff to recognize that sometimes you can even misunderstand conflicts themselves and feel like, oh, because we love each other, shouldn't be arguing, and we should be in agreement, and we should see things the same way. And then you think of conflict as something that is like a reflection of your relationship
when it isn't.
And I always say within reason, because there is going to be things where it's like, no, just because you love someone doesn't mean you should put up with that. It doesn't mean
I agree.
If your partner's not trying to change, they're not seeing things in a way where it's like you're moving in the same direction, trying to move to a better future together, then maybe you do need to say, right, okay, well, this is not working the way they see it. It's different. But conflict in itself, disagreements in itself, does not mean that you are any less committed to your relationship or that you're not compatible. Or that
I guess you could say healthy conflict. Yeah, because it's almost like ironing out the crease. That's how I see it. It's like these little niggly things that are just getting in the way.
Yeah.
And let's get rid of it. And the more you do, it's almost like you practice it as you go through your relationship.
Yeah.
You practice dealing with them, and then it becomes a case of, like how I said earlier on, it becomes a us against the conflict. That's what happens once you've been dealing with conflicts together.
Yeah. Because marriage, relationships, it's never easy. You're definitely going to need to work on things like properly, and also like you have to make sure that even though you might be in a situation where you're not able to resolve that issue right away, you remember why you're together. Always try and have that kind of love. I think someone commented on one of the carousels we posted about marriage myths, where we were talking about you shouldn't go to bed angry with each other being a myth, and we were talking about sometimes in conflict you'll find that you're better off just taking the night and just going to sleep, and things look different in the morning. And I think they brought up the fact that the Bible talks about not going to bed angry with each other. So that's actually something that's in the Bible and advised, and we know that. And that's one of the things we kind of wanted to clarify in this as well, because we're talking about conflict. We're not saying that you shouldn't care about not resolving things like, oh, okay, so it's late, we're going to bed, goodbye, and you're angry. No, we do try to resolve things when they happen. We always do in our relationship.
Yeah, we do.
But we recognize that sometimes we can leave something and go to bed, and we know we still love each other.
Yeah.
So when you say don't go to bed angry with each other, then maybe she's actually right. You know, we don't actually go to bed angry with each other anymore, because technically we know it's going to be resolved. It's just not going to be resolved right now. And I might not be happy with you. So in a way, I am angry with you.
Yeah.
But I'm not angry with you in my heart, because I know who you are, and I know that you're a good man, and that we're going to work through it eventually. So
just make sure you sleep in the same bed. Yeah, because if you're trying to like, I'll sleep in the living room, it's like, okay.
That's shade. You're throwing shade.
No, not you.
You are.
Just saying.
I have done that before, so I understand what you're trying to say. I have done that before.
Just make sure.
I think it's hard for women. Like sometimes, if we are really
get in the bed, if you want to stay on the edge, like literally, fine. But you just need to know that you're right there. Yeah, we're talking in the morning. Yeah, so
I don't know. Sometimes I want to be next to you. I want to lie down next to you. I want to be by myself. Okay.
No, then that makes the problem even bigger
issue. I know, and I don't do that.
It seems
that's
like
not common.
Yeah, it's not common, and it's that's not how it should be.
Yeah.
If you both know you're going to resolve things in the morning or the next day, then there's no reason to be sleeping in separate rooms. I don't think that's called for. Unless
it's all coming out now.
Angry that you can strangle him, which then is more than a conflict or yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I take that. You've said that before, and it's definitely something that I do not do much of anymore.
That's it. Yeah, no, you don't.
But yeah, for sure. And see, we're not perfect. Like we still have. We still have things.
Listen, we're literally doing this marathon.
Yeah.
This marathon called marriage. Okay. Yeah, and it's a slow pace. You have to conserve your energy. You are jogging. You're looking at your partner like, babe, are you okay? We're just jogging through. Slowly. But while you're doing that, you're learning about each other.
Yeah.
You're protecting each other. You're supporting each other.
You're in this together.
You're in this together, as we always say. Like, you want to get to the finish line. You want to get to... I'm just saying. So in doing so, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be a lot of conflict. Dealing with conflict is it's like a skill that you need to practice. You really need to practice it, because if it's something you can master, trust me, it's something that you can resolve it as it comes.
Yeah.
And you can do it together. So I think it's another skill, like communicating, that you need to, as a couple, you need to practice.
You do. The last thing I wanted to kind of touch on that causes conflict is lack of trust. Like if things have happened in a relationship and it's already kind of made you question that other person, sometimes trust, if that hasn't been rebuilt properly, can literally cause several issues. It could almost be like the underlying issue that's causing a lot of different issues.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It could just be lingering there for months, for years.
Yeah.
And especially if that person is someone that doesn't vocalize the issue.
Yeah. And I think that's like, sometimes you have to really think, do I trust my partner?
No. Yes.
And not just on like cheating and stuff like that, but like trust them. Do I trust them as a person?
Trust them that they will protect you.
Yeah.
Trust them that you can...
That they love me, that they are who they say they are, that they mean what they say. Like all types of angles of trust. You have to really ask yourself. And if that is the issue, pinpoint it. Bring it to your partner and work through it. Sometimes people don't even trust that the other person is not going to bail on the relationship, so they don't want to give too much. So sometimes that's causing the conflict as well. So it's like, identify that and have the conversations and tell the other person how you're feeling, and work through it in your relationship as something that you're actively both working through.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because when I think of it, even in our relationship, even our marriage, we don't even do that enough. We don't even do that enough. Because it's almost like an MOT check.
Your example.
I know. No. It's like that. If you think about it, like, it's like, okay, we've been together 5 years, but where are we right now? To sit there and just have to think,
on trust.
On trust. Like if this happened, would he be around for it?
Yeah.
Would she be around for it?
Yeah.
How does he really feel about it? Because sometimes we don't know that. So it's good to get those kind of checks.
Yeah. Okay, so we've spoken a lot about like misunderstandings, and we've kind of touched on some of the strategies, but let's just go through what we think are the main strategies for resolving conflict and what we do and what we would say to other people. So one of the first things we would say is marriage and relationships, and especially marriage, is all about respect.
Respect, yeah.
You have to respect your partner first and foremost.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's even more important for men, right? Even more.
It's important. It is important. It is very, very important.
So try to start on a bed of respect.
Yeah.
If you feel your respect for your partner is dying down or is being affected, talk to them about it. Try and make sure that you work on that to keep that where it needs to be, because that is probably one of the things that can start to cause a relationship to deteriorate.
Yeah.
Another thing that we would say is a strategy, and we've kind of touched on it already, is active listening.
Active listening.
We've had to really work on that, and we're a lot better now, like we said. But focus on understanding your partner, listening to understand. Don't take things as an attack. Literally listen to them.
Don't listen to respond, but listen to understand, as you said. Yeah.
What else would we say?
Be willing to compromise.
Yeah. I struggle with compromise, but...
So what word will make you happy?
I don't like the word compromise. Yeah, I think for me, it's be willing to... It's almost like...
What does compromise mean to you?
Oh gosh, compromise means someone didn't get what they wanted. And I don't think that that's what it is. Like, if I have to compromise myself, I feel like I'm having to sacrifice in a way. It's not exactly the same, but it's almost like I have to accept that I'm not going to get what I want, or it's not going to be my way. It's another way. So I don't like compromise, because it's almost like you both lose in some way. Whereas I feel like it's more about, it's not necessarily compromising, it's trying to reach a common understanding, which some people will be like, but that is compromising, but it's just not, because when you both kind of reach a conclusion that you're both happy with, you're both happy, you both feel like you both got what you wanted out of it. Whereas compromises, you both lose in some way.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you get what I mean? And so maybe it's just perception, but compromising, and I'm not going to go into dictionary.com, but compromising is losing.
Yeah.
And being willing to give up a little bit for something. And I don't like that. I think it's more about finding a way that you can both win, both be happy.
Yeah, okay.
But I do like that. Be open and be willing to kind of work with your partner and try and reach that common ground.
Yeah, I agree.
No, but I know you don't agree with me on the word compromise. So
for me, compromise, I don't think you lose. Sometimes, you lose something. So what? You're in a marriage. Like, if you both love each other, like I said, even when I know I'm right, sometimes I still apologize.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose out.
You lose nothing.
I've lost the fight. I've lost the argument.
No,
it's like, even though I was right, it's like, I was right.
No.
But you know what?
It's not a lot.
I'm going to put that aside. That's a pride. It's a prideful thing. It's a prideful thing, because we've had this discussion. I believe I'm right. You said you're right. We're like, okay. We're going back and forth. So I'm like, I can see it having an impact. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Forget that. I'm sorry. I apologize or whatever. Like, that's me.
That doesn't mean I'm right.
But I'm compromising, isn't it? Is that then I'm me compromising? That's me compromising, isn't it?
No.
Unless I don't understand the word compromise.
we might have to do a whole episode on compromise.
Yeah.
But let's move on. Because being willing to work through things together and reach a common ground is definitely right. Yeah. And if that's what people call compromise, then fair enough. I don't. But I agree with that. We always say as well, do not say, and I always do it sometimes, so it's my thing that I tend to try and work on, but don't use the words always and things like that, because all that will happen is you'll be there arguing about, do I really always do it? And then you start arguing about the definition. And then it's like, give me an example and instances and stuff like that. Talk about sometimes, or, you know, and like, don't use the word you. You want to talk about I. So you did this, or you made me feel like this, or you did it. Say, I felt like this. I feel sometimes I don't feel like you appreciate me, as opposed to you never appreciate me, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like the language and the words you use as well. And what other strategy we would say to deal with conflict?
Be willing to forgive, right?
Be willing to forgive and let things go. And
let things go,
That is true.
Because when you're like, it's me against you, that forgiveness may not necessarily come out through that process.
It's not coming from the right place. Like, you're not in the right place. Another thing is, don't ignore how you feel.
True.
In dealing with conflict, like, don't just like try not to bring something up
because you might think it's just it's too trivial, or it
escalates. And especially escalating inside, and then your reaction. You know, I posted about this as well when we were talking about not turning your relationship toxic as a carousel on our Instagram. But one of the things was this, and it was like, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back. It's always something that just did not need to be that big a deal, but because you've been bottling things up.
It's you let it just like keep brewing up.
What else do we think is like a strategy? What else do we do? We don't argue via text.
No.
Text messages and voice notes.
Leave it. Even a phone call from where you are to the person, if you're not in the same vicinity, like where you can talk face to face and see the other person's reaction, I wouldn't do it. Just wait, get to where they are.
Let's talk about this later. And sit down and actually have a conversation, because
let's talk about this later. It could actually save you hours of argument.
It could save you divorce paper.
It could save you divorce paper. It could save you getting kicked out. It could save you sleeping in the living room. It can save you a lot of things.
So much. And not just as a man, but even as a woman, you know.
It can save you becoming a single woman.
And we did not do this right in the beginning.
No, we didn't.
We loved to text arguments.
It's like, come on, like
3 pages,
3 pages of text, and then you get to the end. Let's talk about it later.
And it's just escalating because you can't hear what the person's saying. You can't hear their tone, their facial expression. Just don't do that one. We also always say, don't shout and profanities and swearing, and this is one that other people might just ignore, because they might be okay with swearing at each other or shouting at each other, and you know, that's just the way their relationship is. But for us, Frank has got a big thing about respect, so we don't like things to get to shouting and profanities. Do you know what I mean? Like cussing each other, insulting each other is a no.
We do try to avoid that. We do try to avoid that. I don't think we get to that. We don't get to that anymore.
We don't. We did in the beginning. In the past.
But that's
when we were younger.
6 years ago, like we're beyond that now. Like,
but some people are there now.
I know. It's
and how can they like stop?
I mean, if they apply the first strategy, I would say respecting each other. That could help.
100. Cool. And I also think, like, don't hijack the moment. If your partner is trying to talk to you about something, don't get defensive and start talking about all the things they've done wrong, or you do this and da-da-da. Just talk about their issue.
About their issue. Even if you have an issue that you need to bring to the table, let that day be a day where you discuss the issue that he or she has. And then another day, bring up the issue that you may have. In a very structured and controlled manner, in terms of like, I've got something that I need to talk to you about. Discuss possible solutions. Try and be more solution focused. Being in that space of it's us against the issue, and then you work in that solution focused mindset.
So take turns talking. Set out specific times to discuss things like date nights or, conflict resolution days or something like that. Openly think about possible solutions and talk about it together. And then, practice using I statements instead of you. I always say you, always, and never are like taboos in a disagreement.
I agree.
And I think it's about sitting down and having these conversations, keeping communication lines open and trying to understand each other. If you're able to do that, you're going to deal with conflicts a lot better. But you've both got to be on the same page where you understand that conflicts are going to arise.
That you cannot avoid it.
Yeah.
You cannot avoid it. It's how you respond to it. It's how you deal with the conflict together. Yeah, that's going to matter.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, that's it, guys. You've heard how we deal with conflict, and we've gone through some tips on how to deal with conflict in a relationship. Hopefully those have been helpful and you can apply it in your relationships or your marriage. We really hope you tune into the next episode where we're going to be talking about coping with work, health, personal desires, ambitions, and how that impacts the relationship or the marriage. We appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen to our podcast, and we're super grateful for all your engagement with us. Don't forget to email us any of your questions, comments, or dilemmas at itt.thepodcast@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram at ITT Podcast, all one word. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll speak to you on the next one.
Bye.